There are different ways that you can transfer liquid solutions when working in microbiology. You may use an inoculating loop, you can use an inoculating needle, a serological pipette, or a micropipette. The first thing that's going to determine which of these instruments you're going to use is the amount of volume you're trying to transfer. If you're just going from a liquid broth to inoculate something else and the volume doesn't matter, and it's just a small amount, like you're just trying to transfer the say a broth that got bacteria in it, you can use either the inoculating loop or the needle. If you need to transfer a specific amount of volume, then you can use either the serological pipette or the micropipette. Serological pipettes, these are typically made out of either glass or plastic. They're sterile. Nowadays you can buy plastic disposable ones. They come already individually pre-packaged in a sterile environment. You can buy them for different sizes, for like a 1 mil up to 5 mils, 10 mils, 25, 50 mils. You need to check on each one. There are going to be divisions. On this particular pipette, you have got 1 mil markings on it. This is a 10 mil pipette. And so like between the 7 and the 8, that's 1 mil. And you can see that you have additional markings in there so that you can actually measure to point, in this particular case, to 0.1 mil. You need to look at the specific pipettes to see what the accuracy and precision of it is going to be. If you're going to measure, say, 1 mil, use a 1 mil pipette. You're not going to use a 10 mil. You could measure 1 mil from that, but you're going to be more accurate if you use the 1 mil. If you need to measure 2 mils, you can probably go for the 5 mil pipette. One thing to keep in mind when you are measuring liquids, water has this property that it will stick to glass and to plastic. And so on the pipette, it's going to be sticking on the side. So when you look at it, it's going to look U-shaped, and that's what we call a meniscus. To get the correct measurement, you measure the bottom of that meniscus, so like the bottom of the U as shown here. If you measure at the top, that's going to mess up your measurements. So just keep that in mind. Now, sometimes, certainly in microbiology, we are working with very small volumes, and so you will use a micropipette. The micropipettes, there's different, obviously, models of these. This is showing just kind of a standard model. There are different sizes of these. Some of these are pre-programmed that they only measure a particular amount. Some of them will measure within a range. And in this display window is where there's a knob there that you can turn, and sometimes it's turning up here on the push button. Actually, you're rotating that to change the number on the dial for the exact amount that you want to measure. You have to be able to look at the micropipette to determine which range. It will be stated on there. It may go from 10 microliters to 100 microliters, or it might have a range of 100 microliters to 1,000 microliters. Remember, with the metric system, 1,000 microliters is going to be the same as 1 milliliter. You have different plastic disposable pipette tips that will attach to the bottom down here. They're often color-coded. The cases are often color-coded. And so typically in a microlab, those have been sterilized, and you keep the tips sterilized. What you do is you can hands-free put the tip on. You just place the micropipette down onto the tip. You have the set for the volume that you wish to use. You can see how this is designed for how it fits in your hand. And this is the plunger that you're going to push down to draw the fluid up. So you're going to stick the tip into your liquid. You're going to push the plunger down, and then just to the first stop. You can, when you play around with it, you can feel that there's 2 different stops. Just go to the first stop to draw the liquid up. It's going to draw it up into the tip. You don't want the liquid coming up into the micropipette itself. You then go over to wherever you're dispensing it, test tube or whatever, and you push that plunger down to the second stop so that the full volume comes out. You would never lay a micropipette on its side while you have the tip on with a liquid in it, because you don't want the liquid coming up into the pipetter itself. Once you have dispensed the solution out of the tip, this little button right here on the back, that's the tip ejector. You just push that down, and that's going to push the tip off the end. So you never touch the plastic tip. When you're working in a lab, oftentimes you're working with, bacterial cultures. You don't want to touch the tip. You need to be working in sterile environments. So you put the sterile tip on without ever touching it. And then once you've collected your specimen and you've transferred it to the appropriate place, then you have a waste container that you just push that tip ejector down. It's just going to pop the tip right off. So depending on what you're working with, in terms of the liquid, do you need a set volume or not? Will determine, do you need to use a pipette, a micropipette for small volumes, the regular serological pipettes for larger set volumes, or do you just need an inoculating loop?